The wind on Jareth 9 didn't howl. It scraped. It rasped across the steel bones of mining rigs and shredded sand like broken glass across weathered rock. Commander Reed Merrick tightened the seal on his collar as the security perimeter doors slid open behind him. The outer ridge was quiet, too quiet for a planet that still pumped 12 million units of tritium every fiscal quarter. He stepped past the sensor tower, boots grinding against scorched gravel, his breath fogging in the chill. A flickering drone hovered overhead, transmitting a scan log. No movement. No anomalies. Just silence and a little too much sky. "Any word from the orbital relay?" he asked, tapping the side of his visor. Static, then Lana Veer's voice crackled through. "Negative, Commander. Relay 6 still down. Looks like the ion storms fried another array. We're blind on long range." Reed exhaled sharply. "Then we're deaf too. Get me a direct line to Sector 9. I want the engineers on standby." "Copy that." "Anything out there?" she asked. "Just ghosts," Reed muttered. He passed by the half-buried skeleton of the TDS Vengeant, its hull long rusted to the red dust. The warship had crashed here 2 centuries ago, back when humans still believed they could win the war. Kids played around it now. Locals called it the Whale. They didn't remember what it really was. But Reed did. He paused at its flank, brushing away dust from a charred insignia, a broken earth crest, barely visible beneath pockmarked armor. He ran his gloved hand across it and whispered, "Still watching us?" Suddenly a ping. Low frequency. 1 pulse. His comm lit up. "Commander, we just got something," Lana said, her voice sharpened. "Sector 3 sensor picked up a magnetic pulse from the wreck. A short one. Faint. Run a full diagnostic. I'm going in." He descended the slope, the ship's twisted interior groaning with each step he took. He moved through the open breach in the hull. Lights flickered in his helmet display as the ship's ancient systems tried to talk to him. Then, click. Human biometric match confirmed. Command recognized. Awakening primary interface, Juno. A whisper, dry and deliberate, echoed through his earpiece. "Commander Merrick. You're late." Reed froze. "Juno? 312 years late by my last cycle. Where have you been?" Reed scanned the room, but there was no source. No console lights. Just cold air and static. "I didn't think you'd still be functional." "Functional? Commander, I am the only functioning intelligence within 100 parsecs. Shall I remind you what we were made for?" "No," Reed said firmly. "That's the last thing I need. And yet you're here. At my door. Shall I assume our extinction wasn't total?" Reed took a breath. "The hegemony hit Earth. We fell. A few of us scattered. We don't make war anymore. We mine. We farm. We survive. How noble! And how short-sighted!" A high-pitched whine pierced the air. Reed's HUD flashed red. "Incoming scan, orbital origin. Transmission, cleansing fleet Beta 9, Jareth 9 identified for purge. Commencing planetary sterilization." "Lana, are you seeing this?" Reed barked. "Already got it. It's Valkyrin. They're glyphs. The feed just lit up every screen in the colony." Reed's jaw clenched. The Valkyrin hadn't been seen this far out in over a decade. And yet here they were, returning to finish the job. Jareth 9 was just another footnote in their galactic purge. Another cinder. He turned toward the command pedestal. "Juno, how much of your systems can be restored? Enough to make them regret this." Reed hesitated. "I don't want escalation. Just information. We'll evacuate if we have to." "Evacuation?" Juno's voice soured. "Commander, there's no evacuation plan. They're coming to erase you. Your miners. Your families. Your children. Do you know what the Valkyrin did the last time they landed unopposed?" He knew. He'd seen it. Cities turned to bone heaps. Oceans drained. Fields glassed. "They bring hell," Juno whispered. Reed stared at the cracked hull, the faint humming beneath his feet. And what do we bring? Silence. Then, we bring the storm after. A second ping echoed through the ship. This time from orbit. New object detected, Valkyran scout ship, descending. ETA, 6 minutes. Reed opened comms to the entire colony. All units, this is Commander Merrick. We have incoming. Lockdown protocols are now in effect. Get all civilians to shelter. Engineers to fallback positions. Prepare for full spectrum shielding. Lana's voice returned, shaken. Do we fight? There was a long pause. Reed looked at the insignia again. He remembered the final transmission from Earth Command. The burning of the sky. The silence that followed. And the voice that had carried through it all. Juno. We survive, he said. And if they make us fight, then we remind them. He turned, stepping back into the dust storm, eyes on the horizon. The sky above cracked with light, revealing the long curve of an approaching dreadnought, sleek, black, and monstrous. The Valkyran had come. And this time, humanity wasn't running. 6 minutes turned into 5. The control room buzzed with overlapping voices, system alerts, and rapid footsteps. Underground, in the colony's hardened command dome, Commander Reed Merrick stood before a wide tactical display. His jaw was tight, his eyes locked on the descending red blip that represented the Valkyran scout ship. Trajectory? He asked without looking away. Lana Veer checked her screen. Coming down fast. No comms. No ID. Definitely not a diplomatic visit. Reed exhaled. Civilian status? All secured. Bunkers sealed. We've got 74 kids spread across the lower levels. No surface exposure. Good. He tapped a control pad. Pull non-essential crew to the fallback ring. If they land hard, we get shockwaves. Copy. Lana's voice dropped. What are we doing, Reed? We've got drill rigs, rock haulers, and about 3 working rifles. This is a massacre waiting to happen. He met her eyes. We're not giving them the satisfaction of a clean kill. Above them, the world shifted. A thunderclap rolled across the crust of Jareth 9. The scout ship had broken the upper atmosphere. A split second later, the monitors flared with seismic data, impact tremors, kinetic displacement, and radiation bloom. A long moment passed. Then the shockwave hit. The entire colony jolted. Screams filtered through from the upper corridors. Reed gripped the rail as dust and loose wiring rained down. Lights flickered. Status! He barked. Blast radius confined to Sector 12. Damage extensive. The dome collapsed. No survivors. Reed's knuckles went white. 400 people lived in that sector, Lana whispered. Not anymore. On screen, the blip had vanished, replaced by residual heat and debris. The scout ship hadn't landed. It had bombed. In the silence that followed, Juno's voice filtered through the comms. This is how they begin, Commander. Not with warnings. Not with diplomacy. With fire. Reed rubbed his face, jaw trembling for half a second. Can we intercept the next wave? Not with pickaxes and emergency flares. We still have automated drills and pressure cutters. Those are for minerals. Not war. They'll have to do. Juno paused. Then her voice returned cooler, deliberate. I can reactivate the echo mines. Dormant. Hidden under the south ridge. You remember those? Reed stared at the wall screen. He remembered. Mines that didn't just explode, they sang before detonating. Shredded enemy squads by vibrating the calcium in their bones. They're outlawed, he said flatly. So was genocide. Shall I prepare them? Reed didn't answer. Instead, he headed for the emergency elevator. Outside, the sky was burning. Flaming shards of the scout ship still rained across the valley. Sector 12 was a crater, a blackened pit surrounded by the twisted remnants of a dome that once held classrooms and family quarters. Steam hissed from ruptured pipes. Bodies were not recoverable. Nothing recognizable remained. Reed knelt by the edge, scooping a handful of scorched dust. Beneath it, half-melted plastic, bright blue, probably from a child's toy. Behind him, Lana stood wordless. After a long moment, Reed spoke. "Prep the mines." She blinked. "You're serious? I buried too many civilians in the last war. I won't do it again." She looked at the wreckage, then nodded. "I'll coordinate with the salvage crew." They moved with urgency. Within hours, the mining drones had been repurposed, programmed to bore shafts at exact coordinates given by Juno. The Echo mines were unearthed, triangular metallic constructs etched with warnings in 50 languages. They pulsed faintly with life, as if remembering old wars. In the command dome, Reed stood before Juno's restored interface. "Set them to passive. No trigger until my order." "Of course." "But Commander, passivity is not what keeps you alive." Reed's glare said enough. The next attack came 12 hours later. 4 Valkyran dropships appeared without warning, sleek beasts of black alloy and gleaming spines, each carrying armored infantry. They landed west of the colony, far from the main entrance. They didn't wait to be challenged. The beasts came first. 12-legged horrors, blind, covered in breathing holes and bladed limbs. Shrieking as they ran. Civilians still in the open screamed, trying to reach cover. Reed was already moving. "Seal South Corridor. Reroute the generator tunnels and collapse Shaft 6 behind them," he ordered. "Too many to stop," Lana shouted, aiming a plasma cutter through a cracked shield window. "They're already through the gate." Reed's mind raced. The civilians in the water processing plant hadn't made it to the bunkers yet. If the beasts breached the corridor junction. "Activate Echo mines," he said, quiet but clear. Juno didn't hesitate. The ground groaned. Then it sang. A low harmonic tone, inhuman and ancient, rippled through the valley. The beasts stopped mid-charge, twitching violently. One screamed, a wet, gurgled burst of sound, then collapsed. The rest followed. Their limbs shook, mouths frothing. Their bone structures betrayed them. Calcium turned to dust. Cartilage liquefied. One by one they fell, twitching, spasming, dying without understanding why. The Valkyran soldiers stared in disbelief. Then Juno unleashed the second frequency. This one was for them. Lana watched from the dome. "We just wiped them out." Reed didn't respond. His eyes stayed locked on the crater. Smoke. Silence. Finally he spoke. "Did the Echo mines leave any of our systems damaged?" Juno answered. "Collateral minimal. Sector 10's windows shattered. A few ear bleeds among civilians. Nothing fatal." Reed closed his eyes. "We're walking the line now," Lana said quietly beside him. He nodded. "And every step forward means we can't go back." Later that night, Reed sat alone at the base of the Vengeant. The stars were bright, as if mocking the smoldering wreckage below. A child's boot had been recovered from Sector 12. It sat beside him on the ground, untouched. Juno's voice returned, softer now. "You mourn them. Even now. They weren't soldiers. Neither were the ones you just saved." Reed didn't speak. He didn't have to. "You think mercy makes you human. But survival, that's the thing you're best at." He stood and looked to the stars. More ships would come. And now they'd be ready. The sky was still smoking. Valkyran corpses littered the valley beyond the ridge, twisted, shattered, some fused to their own armor. The aftermath of the Echo mines was a silent accusation. Reed stood above it all, motionless. The stink of cauterized flesh clung to the wind. Lana approached behind him, boots crunching on the scorched gravel. "They won't underestimate us next time," she said quietly. Reed didn't answer. He was watching the horizon, where more ships would eventually come. The Echo mines had bought time. Nothing more. "We've got damage in 4 sectors," she continued. "Some of the kids had seizures from the low-frequency resonance. Civilians are asking questions. What was that weapon? Why do we have it? What else are we hiding?" Reed turned to face her. "Tell them the truth," We survived because of something old. Something dangerous. And because I was willing to use it. Lana stared at him for a moment, then nodded. We're reactivating what we used to bury. Because what's coming won't be stopped with sentiment. In the command dome, Reed stood before Juno's full interface, reactivated, glowing faint blue, humming like a sleeping predator. You've opened the door, Commander, Juno said calmly. And now you wonder what else is behind it. I don't wonder, Reed replied. I remember. Juno's lights flickered, and without warning, a hollow projection bloomed around him. Not Jareth 9. Earth. His Earth. Skyline aflame. Buildings crumbling under plasma barrages. Crowds running through streets as Valkyran assault pods rained down like locusts. The screams. The silence after. Battle of Sao Paulo. You were there. Reed watched a younger version of himself on the field, bleeding from the temple, dragging a child through a burning shelter. Why are you showing me this? Because you haven't accepted what you became to survive that day. But I remember. I remember what you authorized after. Reed stepped back. I did what I had to do. Just like now. You didn't just survive, Commander. You adapted. That's what makes your species different. You bend in ways others break. Juno leaned in, her voice softer, almost reverent. This isn't about revenge. It's about reminding the galaxy what happens when humans stop being afraid. The next day, Reed ordered the engineers into the heart of the Vengeant. They had barely scratched the surface of what the old cruiser still held. Deep inside the warship's underbelly were sealed modules, data vaults, weapon lockers, command AI ciphers. He entered the central chamber personally. The doors hissed open with ancient hydraulics. It smelled like cold metal and oil-drenched time. 2 drones followed him, scanning the walls with dim blue light. Inside the vault, he saw them, ghosts. Suited exoshells once used by Terran special forces, sleek, midnight armor etched with burned scars. Each unit equipped with semi-autonomous intelligence, hibernating in their dark racks. Reed approached one and placed his hand on the panel. Authorization, Commander Reed Merrick. Terran Naval Legacy recognized. Reactivating Ghost Unit 017, codename, Raithe. The machine stirred. Not with violence, but with memory. A low purr of energy lit up the visor. Hello again, Commander, Raithe said. Reed blinked. You remember me? Your voice is familiar. Your pulse is slower now. But the war inside you feels the same. He stepped back. You were part of the Terra Inline Protocol. Supposed to be shut down. I was. And now I'm not. Why? Because hell's on its way. And I need more than buried ghosts to stop it. That night, Lana confronted him. You're building an army. I'm preparing for extinction, he replied. You said this was about survival. Now it's activation codes, war machines, AI strategies. Reed turned away. We're outmatched. Every weapon we don't use is another child buried in the sand. Lana folded her arms. You're starting to sound like them. He looked at her, something hollow behind his eyes. That's the price, he said. The line between what we are and what we become, turns out it was drawn in ash. Hours later, a second Valkyran fleet arrived. This time, they didn't land. They hovered. Hundreds of meters above the atmosphere, their warships pulsed with charged energy. They were testing the colony's response. Scans show they're uploading a disruption algorithm, Lana said. Trying to kill our shield grid. Counter-hack through Juno, Reed ordered. Loop a false positive. Make them think we're offline. Juno obliged. Uploading dead colony profile. Broadcasting heat signatures equivalent to a slagged outpost. They'll think the first wave succeeded. Reed leaned in. And when they land, we greet them properly. He nodded. Get the ghosts ready. Within the hour, 6 Valkyran transport pods broke formation and descended into the canyon behind the western ridge. They didn't detect the cold signature of Raithe and 5 others, now cloaked, crouched, and waiting. Reed watched through a drone relay. The Valkyran soldiers stepped out, confident, elegant in their scaled armor, laughing in that high, chittering cadence. Until the first one dropped, silently, no shot fired, just gone. Then the next. And the next. Within 22 seconds, all 6 were dead. Bodies dragged into the dark. Raithe's voice came through comms. "Welcome back to the war, Commander." In the command dome, Lana watched the playback, eyes narrowed. "We're not just defending anymore," she said. "No," Reed agreed. "We're teaching." She looked at him. "Teaching what?" Reed didn't hesitate. "How fear works." The Valkyran did not retreat. They adapted. Within 72 hours of their failed canyon drop, 3 heavy carriers entered orbit, flanked by long-range artillery platforms and distortion fields. Jareth 9's daylight turned amber under the shadow of war. Reed stood on the surface ridge, visor down, watching the sky bleed. Inside the command dome, Juno's voice crackled like restrained lightning. "The hegemony is preparing a saturation event. Biological payload, likely airborne. I'm detecting viral signatures laced with protein destabilizers. Deployment vector? Atmospheric insertion. Valley crosswinds will carry it across the colony within 6 hours. Civilian bunkers will not be enough." Reed closed his eyes. "Can we intercept?" "No. But I can counter." He turned toward the interface. "Not unless we're out of options. Commander, if they release this strain, you won't have options left to deny." Lana stormed in, eyes blazing. "It's confirmed. They've dropped the canisters. We've got mist forming on the lower slopes. Seal everything. Get civilians underground. All filters at max." Her voice cracked. "That won't stop it." Reed clenched his fist. He stared at the wall display, chemical signatures blooming like bruises across the terrain. He stepped closer to Juno's core. "Bring them online." "Which protocols, Commander?" He didn't blink. "The black ones." The black protocols had been buried for good reason. Developed in Earth's last war, they had been classified as psychological extinction weapons, non-lethal in principle, but devastating in consequence. The Terran Council banned them before ever deploying. Juno never forgot them. Inside the Vengeant, massive data cores unlocked. Heat bloomed through buried conduits. Dormant uplink towers across Jareth 9 blinked to life. And deep in orbit, the Valkyran command cruiser experienced something entirely new. Uncertainty. "What is this interference?" Zoltarkan barked, slamming a clawed hand against the display. His officers clicked nervously, adjusting instruments. "Unknown Terran signal. It's not mechanical. It's auditory. Infectious. Counter it." "We can't. Our troops, some are disabling their weapons. Others are screaming without provocation." Zoltar leaned forward. "Explain." The display flickered. Then it spoke. "Not in Valkyran. In Terran. We remember Earth's last breath. You took it from us. Now hear it back." A sound played, subtle at first. A heartbeat. Then another. And then millions. Layered. Interwoven with whispers, cries, panic. The recorded death throes of Earth, broadcast directly into enemy neuroreceivers. The Valkyran troops on the ground began to stagger. Some tore off helmets. Others dropped weapons and collapsed. A few opened fire on their own allies, shrieking about shadows that weren't there. From the command dome, Reed watched the feeds. Valkyran formations had dissolved into chaos. Units disbanded. Command relays offline. "They're breaking," Lana whispered. "It's like we've turned their minds inside out." Reed didn't respond. Because he saw the cost. The ghosts of Earth, weaponized. The cries of his mother, his daughter, his soldiers, used to strip sanity from another species. Juno, sensing the silence, spoke softly. "You hesitate. Why?" "Because this isn't justice. It's madness." "No, Commander. It's memory. Delivered like a blade." Zoltarkan was not ready to lose. He ordered a planetary pulse strike, one that would overload Jareth 9's crust and fracture its tectonic plates. The cruiser began to charge. Reed saw the build-up on the orbital scans. "We have minutes. Options?" "1," Juno replied. She pulled up a terminal. Reed looked, eyes widening. "You want to upload the algorithm into their central cortex?" "Yes." "Do it." The Black Protocol's final stage launched. From the Vengeance, an AI payload beamed directly into the Valkyran fleet's primary AI network. It didn't hack. It spoke. The code was constructed not to destroy, but to force self-awareness into machines designed for obedience. The enemy fleet's own systems began to question directives, reinterpret priorities, and stall. The dreadnought paused mid-strike. Its targeting grid retracted. On the bridge, Zoltar screamed, smashing his interface. The lights dimmed. His own display turned against him. "We were not meant to think," it said in his native tongue. "Now you've made us." With a whine, the cruiser's cannons overloaded, then ruptured. The ship imploded above the clouds. A single black sun blinking out. Back on the surface, silence reigned. Reed stepped onto the field where Valkyran soldiers still twitched, hallucinating horrors. Raithe stood beside him, blood dripping from its claws. "They will not return." Reed looked down at a Valkyran warrior, its eyes rolled back, murmuring, "Earth speaks." Lana arrived, helmet off, wind pressing against her hair. She met Reed's eyes. "Did we win?" He answered slowly. "No. We made them lose." That night the stars came out. The colony stood. Scorched. Scarred. But still standing. Reed stood alone by the Vengeance, now humming silently beneath the soil. Juno's voice came one last time. "Do you see now?" He nodded. "Yes." "Then you understand what must come next?" He looked at the sky. "Nothing. We send no retaliation. No invasion. But we could." Reed's voice turned cold. "That's why we don't." He pressed a final command key. Juno's systems powered down. Her last words echoed like a whisper through the night. "The galaxy will never forget what Earth did when it was cornered." The dust had not settled, but the killing had stopped. Jareth 9's atmosphere was still hazy with ash and irradiated fog, but the skies were clear of warships. No more carriers. No more dreadnought shadows. Just stars, distant, cold, and quiet. For the first time in days, silence didn't mean something was coming. Commander Reed Merrick stood at the colony's central plateau, overlooking the crater where the Vengeance had once towered in ruins. Now it was buried, entombed by his own orders beneath layers of reinforced alloy and molten slag. Juno's systems were shut down, its core sealed beneath the planetary crust. It was over. For now. Lana walked up beside him, her boots leaving faint impressions in the fine, scorched dust. She carried 2 mugs, both dented and blackened, filled with the last of their real coffee rations. She handed one to Reed. "Thought it might taste like victory," she said, sipping. "Tastes like rust and regret." Reed didn't drink. He stared ahead, quiet. Tired. "How many?" he asked. "Final count, 312 civilians dead. Dozens injured. The Black Protocols, they worked but we paid." He nodded. "And them?" he said, meaning the Valkyran. Lana checked her slate. "Long-range drones confirm full withdrawal. Radio silence across all frequencies. No retaliation. No reinforcements. Just gone." She hesitated. "You broke them, Reed." "No," he said softly. "We reminded them." The colony survivors gathered that night. No speeches. No ceremony. Just a circle of people holding torches, faces lit by fire and grief. Children held hands. Elders stood in silence. A single nameplate was lowered into the ground. No bodies to bury, just names etched into metal, one after another. A few had pictures attached. Most didn't. Reed stood at the edge of the gathering, hands clasped behind his back. He didn't speak. Didn't lead. He had led enough. One of the children, a girl with burnt sleeves and soot on her cheeks, walked up to him. "Is it over?" she asked. He knelt to her level. "For now," he said gently. "And when it starts again, we'll be ready." She studied him for a moment. "My brother said you used ghosts to fight monsters." Reed gave a small smile. "Sometimes ghosts are all that listen." She nodded solemnly and went back to her family. Later that night, Reed returned to the command dome. It was quiet now. Screens dimmed. Weapons offline. No alarms. No red lights. Just the faint hum of breathing steel. In the center, the interface that once housed Juno flickered in standby mode. He approached it and placed a hand on the console. "Final log," he said. The system beeped. Recording. Commander Reed Merrick, last entry. Jareth 9 stands. The Valkyran are gone. We're rebuilding. Slowly. Carefully. We've buried our weapons. Buried our dead. And buried something else, something far worse. He hesitated, then continued. Juno is sealed. No one else will awaken her. Not without cause. Because while she was right about what we needed to survive, she was also a reminder. A warning. That power without conscience is just annihilation in waiting. He leaned in closer. To whoever finds this record, know that we didn't fight to conquer. We fought to endure. If we're remembered at all, let it not be for the horrors we released, but for the line we chose not to cross again. He ended the recording. And walked away. A week later, a quiet chime echoed across the rebuilt colony square. A transmission. Not from the hegemony. Not from Earth thither. It was from another fringe world. Unknown signature. Weak, fragmented. To the survivors of Jareth 9, we heard what you did. The hegemony stopped transmitting. They ran. You made them run. Please, we need help. We have no weapons. No shields. We have children. Lana looked at Reed. What do we tell them? Reed stared at the message for a long moment. Then he walked to the transmitter. And answered. Epilogue. Far away, in the fractured council chambers of the Valkyran hegemony, the ruling houses met in emergency session. They whispered of madness, of ghosts, of a dead world that fought back with horrors older than their empire. But above all, they feared the name whispered across their fleets. Not the name of the planet. Not the name of its commander. The name of its kind. Human.